This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Lady in the Beard. It's Miranda here, and the air's a little colder. The nights are getting longer, and you know what that means? It is officially, fully spooky season. It is upon us. Isn't that right, Kelly?
Yes. My my favorite month of the year.
Same. So today, Kelly and I are going to celebrate that in the best way that we know, and we are going to share our top 5 horror films. We have each made our own list, so that means we each have a list of 5. And I am predicting we might have a few friendly debates, maybe a little friendly shade. I'm not sure. I do feel like there's going to be a surprise or two from maybe Kelly's list, possibly, because I feel like I'm pretty predictable.
Yeah, I think you might be a little predictable, but that's not a bad thing. I think mine are they may share kind of the same, feel, I guess. But
so, I'll say my list kind of leans heavy on full atmospheric, kind of gothic vibes. Think candlelight, fog, a little bit of 90s nostalgia kind of thing.
Yeah.
I would give my list, but I think we're going to share them one at a time. So each of my movies kind of give me the perfect October mix. It's creepy enough to give you goosebumps, but stylish enough to make you feel like it's a comfort horror. That's mine.
That's cool.
So are you ready to go? What would you call yours real quick? Mine's atmospheric and gothic. What would you describe yours as?
I would say mine's kind of, I don't want to say maybe cosmic horror.
Okay.
Because there's a couple that are in that vein of but those are the kind of movies that have always kind of gave me the creeps.
They're what you gravitate towards, basically.
Yeah. I guess that'd be the closest, maybe a little bit off the beaten path.
Mm-hmm.
I know my number one, which I'll go with that first, it flopped at the box office the year it came out, and initially was not really liked, but over time it has become kind of a cult classic, which I kind of gravitate towards those also. So
I do think a good cult classic has its place, especially in spooky season. Because to me, there's a lot of cult classics during spooky season. So I guess, with all that being said, boys and girls, we will just jump right in. So if you are ready, everybody grab a blanket, maybe get something pumpkin flavored. I just have water because it is also the season where my throat is burning.
I have chamomile tea because my throat's been a little also, so.
As my brother used to say, chamomile. You got some chamomile tea. So I have waters, but if maybe everyone at home would like something apple flavored or pumpkin flavored, you can dim those lights because we are about to dive into our favorite horror movies. I will say I do enjoy good horror. I love a mind horror basically too. Things that mess with your mind. So, this one was hard. Making a list of just 5 was hard, but also really enjoyed it. I'm curious to see if we have any similars. I don't know if we will, because
if maybe one, I'm going to say maybe one. We might maybe have more, but I'm thinking because you and I have differences in likes, and this, we could have probably done a top 20.
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
We both agreed.
Keep doing this.
Top 5 I really had to crunch things down because
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot that I really enjoy. So it was like, okay, well, I did the thing like if I only had 5 horror movies to just watch for the rest of my life, say this is all I had, these were the ones that I would pick. So I just
Oh
kind of
yeah.
did it that way to be able to, you know, be able to make a list. So, but
Yeah.
anyway,
It's hard decisions here. It really is.
yeah.
I'll let you go first if you want to give your
Sure.
first or your 5.
Um,
I guess, and
but
no, I guess I'll go ahead and say this is probably in. We're not ranking our top 5 in any particular order unless Kelly
yeah,
wants
this,
to. So this is like in no particular order. Here's our like fave 5 of the moment, I guess I should say.
yeah. The first one that that I picked is really the one that I spoke about that didn't do well. It came out October 23rd of 1987, the year I graduated from high school, to, you know, kind of give you an idea of how old I am.
We won't talk about
Um,
how old Miranda was.
no, we won't. It's called Prince of Darkness, and it was John
Oh,
Carpenter. It's
yeah.
John Carpenter's. It's a part of his unofficial Apocalypse trilogy.
Yeah.
The first in that would be another one of mine that I'll talk about, you know, here before we end this is The Thing.
Mm-hmm.
But The Prince of Darkness is a movie that you have an ensemble. It's one of those horror films where you have an ensemble and they're all of these physicists, quantum physicists, and they're all, you know, going to school, and they're you have a priest played by Donald Pleasance who comes to one of the other teachers who he's worked with in the past, and he's like, we have this situation we need your help in. And so he takes him down to this church where this priest had been kind of standing guard over something they called the sleeper. And it goes into a lot of religious, kind of mixing religion and like quantum theories about time travel, and it's just eerie in the way it's presented. And back when I was, you know, when I saw this, I didn't see this when it came out, of course. I wasn't able to, but I saw it when we started getting movie rental places, you know, and was
Mm-hmm.
able to rent movies during the big boom of that. And I remember watching it for the first time with some friends of mine, and just how weird it left me feeling, and how like some of it really kind of creeped me out. And if you've never seen it, I would, you know, if you like John Carpenter, it is worth a watch. It had a budget of $3 million, and the box office, I think they brought in, according to Wikipedia, is 14. So it really wasn't like a horrible loss, but I mean, it wasn't what I guess the movie, or the whoever puts the movies out
Yeah.
was not happy. Um, but it's got a lot of regular actors that John Carpenter works with. So I mean, that's kind of another thing that you see, these directors who use ensembles to kind of, they're always, you know, they're working actors, so they's like, oh, well, you know, we'll get so and so. You know, Donald Pleasance was in Halloween, and again, he
Mm-hmm.
was in this movie. So it's got an ambiance to it where you kind of feel, I mean, like when I first watched it, I kind of felt like I was being kind of drawn in, and trying to figure out what was really going on, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
they kind of just sprinkle things along the way. They don't just, you know, give you all the answers, which I don't like movies that just kind of you can kind of see things coming. I kind of like to think about what's going on. So, but yeah, Prince of Darkness is like one of my favorites.
I think that's a good choice for sure. It's one I always forget about, not for any particular reason, like not because it was bad or anything. I just kind of had forgotten about that one. And the minute you said it, I was like, oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of folks that like cosmic horror, or they like, kind of unique horror films that aren't, Prince of Darkness kind of falls into that category because it's not a slasher. It's not, it's not like Alien Monster or, Slasher of the Week or anything like that.
Which you and I do enjoy a good slasher. We actually used to watch American Horror Story together every week. And I think the one that we had the most fun with was the one that people hated, which was the 1984, which is essentially just a slasher, like straight up.
Well, it was kind of just fun to watch. I mean, it wasn't, so many of the other ones were kind of really intense and had like a lot of strong, kind of, very strong in the emotional and the
shock value.
Shock value. This one was kind of campy and kind of like, just a normal 80s slasher, which there were tons of those that I've watched, but yeah.
So I think I'll just kind of go down the list when I like the way I wrote it. So the first one, it's gothic at its finest, is what I'll say. So that's where like I'm very predictable in the sense that is, and it's a Tim Burton. So like Miranda likes Tim Burton, shocker. It is Sleepy Hollow from 1999. It's the fog for me, the forest, Headless Terror. I think this is a fantastic take on Sleepy Hollow and the story of the Headless Horseman. It really, to me, balances like this fantastic eerie atmosphere with kind of like a dark whimsy that we tend to get from anything that's Burton, like a Burton-esque film or a book or whatever. It's always got this like kind of whimsy to it that most people expect when you hear his name attached to something. And I really appreciate that. And I like that it's like just adult enough as well. Because listen, I love everything Burton does, but he does a lot of, he does do a lot of things that are family friendly, and Sleepy Hollow kind of goes into that territory, I can't speak, of not being, essentially, I think it's actually like PG-13.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's not ours. It's PG-13. To me, taking Washington Irving's classic, which is one of my favorite stories, and just kind of make it really visually haunting. It's like this fairy tale. I mean, let's just be honest though. Also, Johnny Depp's acting, as well as Christina Ricci. So Johnny Depp in this like super nervous Ichabod, but like super smart. No one believes him. Mm-hmm. And then you got Christina Ricci, who's just very ethereal in her Katrina part. It just kind of makes, it kind of even adds like a spooky romantic kind of thing to it that you don't expect to see together. And it's just fascinating. That came out in 1999. So sometimes it feels like it was longer than that.
God, 1999.
Yeah. I was in high school. Yeah.
That's when I lived at my first house, and that's when my gamer friends and I were, that's all we did was game Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And my house was always something going on. So yeah, that was the late 90s. Were good times.
It would have been peak Buffy for us too.
Yeah. That was, Danny would bring over a VHS copy of that week's Buffy, so we would get to watch it and enjoy it. till eventually the cable company over here got the CW, or the WB, I should say first. And
Yeah, it
then,
was WB in
yeah,
'99.
but yeah, I that's definitely a film I could see you being on your list.
It's always been one of my favorites. I remember the first time I watched it, and I watch it every year. And sometimes not even just at Halloween, but I do watch it at least once every Halloween. So
Yeah. Well, the second one that I have is again, I mentioned it just a minute ago. It's John Carpenter's The Thing, which was a
such a good
remake
one.
from the 1950s, which was based on a book called, I think, Who Goes There, or A
Hmm.
Bump in the Night, or something like that. But it's a horror film that is kind of a sci-fi alien type
Hmm.
film. You have again an ensemble cast in this Arctic Research Center, where they find a crashed ship, and then of course they investigate it. But it's all about the paranoia of who is the thing, because this thing assimilates
Hmm.
everything that it comes in contact with. So essentially, any drop of blood is basically a particle of this. So that little bit could infect you and take you over and assimilate you. So
Hmm.
the first time I saw it and really gathered what was going on, it was just the paranoia of who's the thing, and who's not. And
It's kind of like one of those that messes with your mind, which I really appreciate.
yeah, and the practical effects for the film, which I don't mind. I would prefer practical effects any day of
Hmm.
the week, because you have just very talented people who can create. Like Tom Savini is well known within the horror genre
Hmm.
as just being the
Absolutely.
guy to go to, and there's a lot of others that are just as good like him. And there were a lot of them that worked on this film, and yeah, you can look at it and maybe there's some things that look a little dated, but for the time, it was pretty. I mean, it was one of the films when I first saw it. I was like, God, that's just, it makes you just kind of go ugh,
Hmm.
in a sense. But you got to think about the time it was made, and it was, I know CGI now is like everything, but practical effects I've always enjoyed. You just suspend your disbelief and just kind of get, you let your imagination go, and just some of the effects are better, and there's some that are kind of like, oh, that's weird,
Hmm.
but and again, you have like Kurt Russell. There's a couple other actors, I can't remember their names, but of course this is like one of the films that he did for John Carpenter. He did like Big Trouble in Little China was another one that he did.
Yeah.
Um, but I like Kurt
He's
Russell.
kind of like Ryan Murphy in the sense that he likes to work with the same people. It's like he
Yeah,
knows what will happen, so
yeah.
or how they will work, basically.
I like those kind of directors and those kind of people that work. Frank Darabont is like that, because he did another film that is not on my list, but one that I enjoy, but I really can't. It's a one and done, and when I name it, you'll understand. It's The Mist,
Hmm.
and Frank Darabont did that, and a lot of the cast members that he had in that film, he's had in some of his other work, and he also brought some of them over to the first season of The Walking Dead.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, the thing would be my second choice. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth the watch. Now they did a prequel in 2011 that is basically the setup to what happened prior to The Thing, and
Yeah.
it's really well done.
Hmm.
My only gripe is that they used a lot of CGI, and
They
to me
did.
it didn't really mesh. And the fact was, they did do practical effects, and one of the execs, which that's always the curse of having to do a film. You have these people that have the coin purses, and they're like, well, we don't like the practical effects. We want you to use CGI. So they took out all the practical effects and did CGI, which I don't know, just doesn't have the same feel.
I think you also have a whole group of people now that if CGI isn't used, they're like, that movie was lame. So it's like people like you and I that do enjoy the, practical effects of our youth, so to speak. We get giddy over it because it's like, it's really exciting. And then a lot of other people are like, ew, what is this? Like, I not making it, not saying I am defending it, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, certain things with CGI can be done, and maybe, I mean, it works. I mean, it serves its purpose, but like I started watching a horror film a few months back, this one on Tubi, because I was bored. I can't even remember the name of it. I got like 10 minutes into it, and I just said, oh, this is dumb. And you had this guy that got shot by a gun, and you could tell it wasn't a squib, which, if you don't know what a squib is, it's a practical effect where they have this little thing of blood up underneath wherever you're going to get shot, and it kind of blows up. Not enough, but it does enough to like show, and it looks like a gunshot. And they were doing CGI gunshots, and I was like, God, that's awful. I mean, you could tell that was just not. And I was like, how hard is it to make squibs? I mean,
it's so weird that they would CGI gunshots. Even big productions don't do that, like, usually.
Yeah, it's just I guess cost effective, maybe. I don't know. But
I genuinely don't either.
Yeah. But yeah, but yeah, The Thing is definitely on my list of top 5. So
good. So I just realized I think almost every single one of mine is a movie from the 90s. Let's see. One is from 2001. So apparently I'm just staying in the 90s today. Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze. Oh, I am. Okay.
There it is.
I tried to mute. It just wasn't going to happen. Sorry, boys and girls. I did go into my elbow bend. But the second one I'm going to go with is kind of a cult classic, as we were talking about earlier. And that is 1996's The Craft, which is described as a cult classic, cult favorite. Kind of defined the witchy vibes era. In my opinion, it isn't just about teenage witchcraft, though. It's about power. It's about friendship and kind of the price that comes with powers, the price that comes with, like, certain friendship and like just being who you are, essentially. I think what makes this movie is like, it also has this very iconic soundtrack and this really dark aesthetic that mix very well together. You have a cast that during the 90s was just top tier. Neve Campbell was just kind of doing her thing in the 90s, getting all those roles.
Yeah.
Fairuza Balk pulls off some crazy. She's the queen of, crazy in that movie. But you got Robin Tunis, Fairuza Balk, Neve Campbell, Rachel True, Skeet Ulrich. I mean, they were all, Christine Taylor. The list is pretty phenomenal, and it just does really well. And in my opinion, even with the amount of times I've watched it, it holds up. And it just does really well. And of course, we have that very unforgettable line, like, "We are the weirdos, mister." And it kind of became like this iconic a film for anyone who's ever felt a little different, in my opinion. Like, if you felt like you were the weird one or you were the outcast, like, this was your film. At least when I was growing up, like during this time period when the movie came out, it's like you felt seen because it was like cool. So it will forever be one of my top favorites always. when this airs, it's Halloween. So like this airs, I'm just finishing up something that I do every year for Place to Be Nation. And that is PTBN 31 Nights of Halloween. Obviously we are not the creators of 31 Nights of Halloween. That was started years ago by, I think it's like, what are they called now? ABC Family, Freeform. I don't know. They have a new name, but a lot of people have played upon that. And it usually is one that no matter what, I make a lot of changes every year to try to accommodate as many different movies as people like. But The Craft is usually one that like it will make the list every single year, as well as one of my other favorites on my list here that like, to me, those two just are iconic. When you're planning a list of 31 nights of movies, which is harder to do than you think, boys and girls, especially when you're trying to please like a whole gaggle of people.
Yeah, you can't please everybody when it comes to making a list of anything, whether it's horror films, sci-fi films.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to leave something out and someone's going to go, hey, you should have put this on there.
And I do feel bad, but there are some movies that, since we are talking about horror movies, I'll just say really quickly that there are some horror movies that are absolutely not for me. You and I have talked about this personally, like just when we've been talking about like movies and conversation and stuff. And there are just some movies out there that I apologize to anyone who loves them, but they will never, ever go on my list because I just absolutely cannot. I can't even, as Caden says, I can't even with them. I don't like horror movies that add any sort of SA for a shock effect. Because that is already a horror. Yeah. That is a horror thing. I don't like, that is a horrific thing. Not like that's a horror thing as in movies, but like that is a horrific thing. So I'm not there for it. And like just excessive amounts of gore for the sake of having gore. I don't like that either. Like make it a plot point, like make it part of the story. Like if it's just like a continuous, like blood, squish, guts, like it doesn't like gross me out or anything. I just don't like it. It's just, to me, it's kind of boring. It's like, well, this is not fun. This is not entertaining. Like, this is,
Yeah. Excuse me.
It's okay. So that'd be my number 2 would be The Craft.
My number 3 is a little bit of a departure. It came out in 2005. It's The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know some people are, like The Exorcist is like everyone's favorite possession film. And I'm going to be that one guy. I've watched it probably twice in my entire life. And this thing came out before. I mean, I couldn't even go see it when it came out because I was a little kid. But it just was meh to me. I mean,
The Exorcist, the actual original Exorcist?
Yeah, the original.
I'm not. My mother's terrified of it. She's like, that will not be watched in my home.
Yeah. I a lot of people from my generation swear by it, and I understand it. If that's mm-hmm. yours. But if I had to pick like a film that literally just made me sick, kind of to my stomach watching mm-hmm. it, is this one. And it's just because of, and this is like one of the things, like I've lived through all these films, and I mean, like slasher films, I've seen just about every one of them. And mm-hmm. they are just, it's just guy going around killing teenagers. You can't, that's just a trope that has been done to death. And mm-hmm. so I'm just not, I kind of grew out past that into more, but what always has scared me is being possessed. That would be completely, and to imagine like you're possessed by something and you don't have any control. That to me is like my ultimate, like, ugh.
Well, that film, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, not to like steal your thunder. I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this, but like it's actually based off of a real case of Annalise Michael.
Wasn't that from someone in Germany?
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
actually was one of the cities that we used to go to a lot for Caden to go buy Warhammer. It's called Würzburg.
Hmm.
So it starts with a W, but it's called Würzburg, and she actually that's where she was at.
Hmm.
And they now think because they just didn't have enough information then, and it wasn't as long ago as everybody thinks. Like this
Yeah.
is from 1976. Like it's not. Everybody's like, oh, because it was really old. Because also people don't people talk about the Salem witch trials and like the witch trials in
Hmm.
England and stuff, but like one of the most horrific witch trials took place in Würzburg. So people would just automatically think that the story of Annalise, which is the exorcism of Emily Rose, was so
Hmm.
long ago. And it was actually in the 1970s, 1976. They now believe she had some sort of actually like a neurological something, like something medically was wrong with her that they
Yeah.
couldn't determine. That now with modern day medicine, there's like people that have like exhumed her body and like
Right.
studied all her case records, and they're like, oh my God, I think she had like blah, 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 blah.
Hmm.
But if you like get a chance, I I watched some like documentary stuff, and I listened to some like podcasts that covered it, and they actually play tapes of like things that she's actually saying while they're trying to exorcise her, because again, her family was so religious, they thought it was demons. It is
Hmm.
horrifying. Horrifying. Like, especially the voices that she's making, which we now know, like, she probably had something neurologically, like, she was suffering from something medically. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's terrifying. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's that makes total sense. And like, I'm not really a believer in ghost or exorcisms, or, I mean,
Oh, I am.
I, I, I mean, I'm not saying they don't exist,
Hmm.
but I've never, it kind of seems implausible for me. Now, uh, I've talked to friends and I've got family that swear by, you know, these hauntings, or, and, again, I'm not going to dispute, uh,
Right.
anything. But I'll say this, I may not really believe in these things, but I'm not going to get on a Ouija board and I'm not going to provoke the spirits. Okay.
You're like,
I'm
if they
not
are there, I'm not going to bother them.
right. I'm just not going to, you know, do anything that would make them want to come and give me a hard time. It's like, if it turns out that maybe, if I had a home and if it was haunted, I'd be like, okay, look, I'll stay on this side. You can stay there.
Yeah.
We don't have to bother one another. But another thing I want to say about this film is that the actress, Jennifer Carpenter, who
Hmm.
played Emily Rose, uh, I saw it, behind the scenes on it, and they were talking about all the way she contorted herself. They were going to make
Crazy.
practical effects to do that. And they were talking to her about it. And she goes, I think I could do that. And so they did the scene, and the director, he's behind the camera with the cameraman, and they're watching it through the monitor. And she's just giving it her all. And at one point in time, I think the film or the cameraman was like freaked out because he thought, really, she's possessed. That's not, because she was just, and they didn't have to use any practical effects because she
Mm-mm.
could contort her body like that. And
That
that,
that does freak me out. I have seen. Do you remember that you and I both used to watch Flash? Remember one of the metahumans that was a bad guy that could do the weird contortion shit
mhm.
on Flash? That genuinely creeped me out. So when you're talking about like things like her being able to do that and things like that, I will say that is one of the things that if you want to terrify the shit out of me, that's how you do it.
Yeah, that's something that, I mean, that was part of what unnerved me about this film, and it kind of stuck with me, was those scenes where she was, being possessed and her body was going through all these, you know,
Yeah, no.
gestations
Mm-mm.
and things. But it really impressed me that she was able to do that, and they didn't have to use practical effects.
Yeah.
But but yeah, I think this is a film that, you know, if you like those kind of films, because it's not really gory. It's not. I mean,
Mm-mm.
it's more. It's spiritual horror, I guess.
It'll mess with you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good one to
Religious
see.
horror. Yeah.
Religious horror. Yeah. I mean, because there's a ton of exorcism type films out there,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I don't know why I watched this one. I think it was something that I may have rented and
It was
just on a
2005, so
whim.
very, very possible.
Yeah. Well, that was. I mean, that was the year I opened my shop, so it was in September, and I was still renting movies.
Yeah.
You
We
know,
still
from
had the
Blockbuster. So
Blockbuster. Yeah.
yeah. So
It
I
was
think
actually still there until, what was it, like 2015, 2016, I think?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, we had that thing for a while.
Yeah, but that's my third.
Okay. So my third one is I'm still staying in the 90s, and listen, I finally got a slasher, but it's Wes Craven reinventing the slasher, if you want to. And that is 1996's Scream. Yes, the original Scream. None of the rest of them can compare. You don't listen. There's something about the combination of Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard that just make this movie top tier. And the fact that all these years later, they are still like leaning into it when people want to talk about Scream with these two, they are very like, yeah, we get it. That's, it is what it is. Also has some very iconic lines to it. Slasher, this really kind of was, I meant it when I said I felt like Wes Craven came in and reinvented the slasher genre with Scream. He kind of mixed humor with self-awareness, because like there's a whole conversation during this movie at one point where it's like being self-aware. One of the characters is talking about, no, that's the wrong thing. It's the worst thing you can do is to be separated in a movie. And he explains like all of the, like what you don't do in a movie, and how creepy, scary movies are supposed to go. It's actually Jamie Kennedy. He's like, no, that's the worst thing you can do. So the fact that it has like this self-awareness going on, and it does have genuine scares as well. You do this cliche thing that I kind of got tired of, and this trope I got tired of in horror movies, which is like, oh my God, the virgin, she's not a virgin anymore. Excuse me. Like, I don't really love that, but Nev Campbell as Sidney Prescott, instant fangirl or final girl icon. Ghostface does have this charm and menace, right? Where he kind of set the tone, I think, like moving forward. Because we're mid 90s here, 1996. Technically 95 would be mid, but you know what I mean. So we're like mid 90s, and I think Ghostface really set the tone for all of the rest of our villains to come, our horror villains to come after that. It's endlessly rewatchable, in my opinion. It's sharp, witty. It's very stylish. Again, another soundtrack that there was something going on in the 90s where people in charge of soundtracks just really knew what they were doing. And I don't have to say it again, but like Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard, come on now.
Well, I mean, that's you mentioning that film. I remember going and seeing that by myself. It was a Saturday night. I remember that because everybody was gaming, and I really wanted to see this film for some reason. I mean, but nobody else wanted to. So I said, well, look, guys, I'm going to go see this. You guys have fun. And so, and I think that's like the first time in a long time that I'd gone to the movies by myself. And I really enjoyed that kind of just me having this time. But the movie, I mean, I came back and was telling the guys that this film was amazing,
It was.
Because it was kind of a new a new way at doing horror, where
Mm-hmm.
you have the kind of self-aware characters in the film that
Yeah.
kind of understood how these things worked, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it.
It is, and this one is loosely based off a serial murderer, crazy man. The writer Kevin Williamson had originally written it more closely related to the Gainesville Ripper, which all of my fellow true crime people will likely know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, well, yeah, for you, because didn't he do that in the early 80s, early 90s?
I think so. I mean, it wasn't something that I followed when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I watch a lot of true crime TV, so that was one of the. I want to say I think it was like on Forensic Files or
Oh,
Cold
it's been
Case or
done by
whatever,
so many people.
where
Yeah.
that's where I saw it for that.
Mhm. Yeah. He point, yeah. Anyway, it's loosely based off of the Gainesville Ripper story. I want to say most of the murders took place in 1990. They were all college students, so there's like some similarities that happened in the movie, but they ended up changing like a whole lot. But Kevin Williamson was inspired by, which has always made me laugh because my actual dad's name is Kevin Williams. So anytime people talk about Scream and the guy that wrote it, I'm like, that is too funny that ends up being one of my lifelong favorite movies. Their names are so close. But there are some similarities in the Ripper case, where tragically there were, 5 college students that lost their lives that shouldn't have at all.
Yeah.
But it is interesting how he kind of like changed the game, and he made it, I hate to say palatable, but he did. He made you want to know who Ghostface was. He made you want to continue the conversation of, and then this doesn't spoil anything, because I think at this point, if you haven't watched Scream, well, you haven't watched Scream, but like having the double killer, like had we ever really done that before? We'd always had like this one killer that we focused on.
Yeah, that was one of the things I remember thinking to myself, wow, that's definitely a new spin,
right,
on the genre,
Mm-hmm. For sure. So that would be my number 3 for sure.
My number 4 is it's really both these films, but Night of the Living Dead came out in 1968.
Yes.
It was in black and white,
Mm-hmm.
and they remade it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say maybe in 1990. Tom Savini and Tony Todd and Patricia Tallman, they basically are playing. I mean, they basically just made it again, but they were using newer practical effects, and it was in color. Again, it was one of these movies I rented when I first
1990.
movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, it's your typical zombie trope movie where you have this kind of cast of characters. They're trapped somewhere, and this is a farmhouse, and you have various zombies just kind of, and these aren't fast zombies. These aren't 28 Day Laters. This is just you're kind of shambling, because Patricia Tallman, who played Barbara, about midway through the film, she's watching, and she's kind of, she's gone through her hysterical phase. She's in survival mode now, and she's like, we could just run past them. We have guns. We can, before we end up getting trapped here, we could, if we're careful. And I liked the film because you had, like, I really liked Barbara's character because she went through the phases. I mean, she was freaked out, scared, crying, hysterical for the first part of the film. About midway, she kind of like, okay, it's kind of like she became, she kind of got in her Ripley mode. She got the gun. She started, she found some pants and some boots. She started, uh, it showed her kind of evolve a bit in the film. She wasn't just this crying, scared girl,
Right.
I thought that was, you at that time, you really didn't see a lot of, I guess, outside of her. And then really, I mean, Ripley, was
Mm-hmm.
like one of the first, somebody that took it to task and wasn't just like your typical, oh my God, help me,
Right.
Um,
There wasn't a damsel, like there are moments of damsel in distress, but they also like figured out for themselves kind of thing, basically.
yeah, I mean, it's, they are always talking about, we want to see strong female characters. Well, there was a lot of them kind of throughout the 80s and 90s
Mm-hmm.
horror films. They weren't all just, it's always like the last girl, the girl that survives. It's come a long way, and that's what I
Mm-hmm.
like, is seeing, the growth and seeing these characters be able to defend themselves and fight off zombies and aliens and everything else. I mean, even, you talk about Scream, you talk about Sydney. I mean, how many times did she elbow or kick or, push Ghostface?
Oh yeah,
She fought back, I think, better than probably any Scream Queen,
I would agree.
in the day. But that's like my classic, because the black and white, I mean, I would say if you haven't seen it, watch it
I really
first,
like it. Mm-hmm.
and later on, if you want to see it done again, but in color and with better practical effects, because Tom Savini, I think he directed and he did everything
Mm-hmm.
in this
And
film.
George Romero at his finest.
Oh yeah. But that's my fourth film.
Okay, so mine is a lush, tragic, and visually stunning take on a classic vampire tale, and that is 1992's Bram Stoker's Dracula. This is actually, I guess we could say Coppola's Dracula, if you would like.
Mhm.
Which we just have we just had Dracula redone as well. I haven't watched the new one yet, but I've heard great things. But this is Francis Ford Coppola's take on Bram Stoker's Dracula, and you get, believe it or not, Gary Oldman as. People now, I'm like, no, Gary Oldman was a fantastic Dracula. And you hear people, I can hear it in people's voice, the judgment. And I'm like, listen, I promise you, the queen of horror herself, Winona Ryder. We have Sir Anthony Hopkins, Keanu Reeves, Richard Grant, Carrie Ills. Like, come on. Like, the list just keeps going. Monica Bellucci. Like, it's a phenomenal cast. I watched this far too young. Let's just put it that way. It made me feel things.
Yeah.
It is loosely based on Bram Stoker's classic. You have a young barrister, Jonathan Harker, which is Keanu Reeves, and he is kind of assigned to this gloomy village in the midst of Eastern Europe, which, woo, shout out Eastern Europe. And he, of course, is captured and imprisoned by an undead vampire Dracula who travels to London, inspired to photograph, and by a photograph rather of Harker's betrothed, which is Mina Murray, played by our lovely Winona Ryder there. And it just has something about it. This Gary Oldman's portrayal makes the Count both terrifying and at the same time very heartbreakingly human, in my opinion. It's this kind of horror that this movie gives off, so it feels like very much like poetry in motion. I always feel like it's very well done. It kind of drips with gothic romance and a lot of theatric intensity that I know some people are like, that's garbage, but in my opinion, it is fantastic, and I love every minute of it. Every time I watch it, to me, it does not get old.
I remember seeing that one me and my friends went to the theater to see that one as well. I remember my friend Chris Smith and I, we talked about it after the fact. We had a conversation in my kitchen after seeing it with some of the other guys that went to the theater, and somebody mentioned that this was like a gothic love story, and
Oh yeah.
I heard just from Chris Smith piped up. He goes, "No, this was a movie about a baby killer," and just went off because Chris was not a fan of vampires, and he just started going off on all of these things, and it just became a running joke there at the house, that movie was just about killing. And I'm not sure where he got baby killer from, but that it just caught
There's
all of
stuff
us.
that happens. There's stuff that happens
And
that would be deemed as
so it just it's just one of those things that made me laugh. I would joke with Chris about it ever so often. But yeah, that was a film. When I saw it, I thought, I wasn't a huge fan of the Hammer films with Christopher Lee and all this, but I appreciate them. I just never got a chance to see any of them. So, but the vampire trope was always something I wasn't really, it didn't appeal to me. But the way this film was done, and the way it was filmed, and the way it was shot, and all of the effects, I really liked that. I really enjoyed, the settings, and I didn't have a problem with it. I think I probably ended up watching it a couple more times when it came on television, or maybe we rented it. The cast was really good too. I agree with you. They couldn't, I don't really think you can. I don't think you could redo something like that, and have that kind of cast of actors and doing a film like that made such an impact.
I say if you redo it, you now have to have Keanu play Dracula, and I'd love to see him as a Dracula.
Yeah.
That'll never happen, but I would love to see it.
It won't ever. But my last film is a guilty pleasure, and it's not one that probably a lot of people will like. There may be a few of you out there that might. If you do, if you like it, it is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Again, this is a John Carpenter, when he did Halloween, that was all. He didn't really, it made so much money and became such a hit that they came back to him, and he reluctantly said, "Okay, I'll do Halloween. I'll do the second Halloween, but the third Halloween, if the next one, I want to be able to do, I have, a vision and what he wanted to do." So, because he was done with the Michael story, he was but Halloween 3 was supposed to be kind of like, he wanted to do a Halloween film every year, and it'd be kind of like, not so much like an anthology, but kind of like that, where it would be a different situation on Halloween. It would be, and this film centers around this toy maker who had figured out a way to kind of dabble with ancient folklore, and they brought a piece of Stonehenge back, and were chipping off pieces of it and putting it in these little transistor things that they were putting in these masks that these kids would buy. And it's really just, it's so, the first time I watched it, I was like, what is this? this is outrageous.
Which I have to say, have we not learned that we don't pick up artifacts and things like that? And like,
well, yeah,
I'm just
mean,
saying, like, have we not learned this by now?
This was one of the first films where I saw where like a kid was actually like, I mean, not, he was killed, but in just the most weird, messed up way. And,
right.
He wanted to do this to like trick all the kids and, you know, the actor who played, Cochran, I can't remember his name, but he's really good. I mean, he really chews up all of the scenes he's in. I mean, that's one of the things that I liked about the film, right out the gate was like this antagonist or, you know, this is the bad guy or whatever you want to call him. He's good. He really, you know, knows what he's doing. It was panned and hated and, you know, he wasn't able to do any more of those. I mean, the studio was like, okay, you're not getting any more, you know, unless you do, you know, Michael's what brings in money. And
he does.
But I could understand what Carpenter wanted to do. I mean, that would have been cool in my book, but you know, studios are dumb and a lot of times they ruin things but yeah, that's my guilty pleasure. I watch it every Halloween. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those are my top, or those are my, not top 5, but those are 5 of my favorite horror films that if I had to, you know, just have them and nothing else, those are the ones that I would pick because I've watched them hundreds of times and I always enjoy them. I mean, it's not like I get sidetracked or I get on my phone. I'm
right.
legitimately watching them.
It's like, even if you did, you know, every word, you know what you like,
yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah. It's kind of like Prince of Darkness and even Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, I would put in my comfort movie category, you know, because
several of mine are as well.
I can't tell you how many times I would have like either one of those films on my TV while I was like playing WoW with my friends or playing Final Fantasy or whatever. But I think one of the things that like I don't like, I've seen all kind of horror films. I try not to discriminate too much, but there are, like you mentioned earlier, there's a few that you don't enjoy, or you know, you've kind of seen one like one that comes to mind for me is like the Hostel movies.
Which I can actually give you a fun fact about the Hostel movies really quickly. So the first, it's set in Slovakia, which, you know, that's where I lived for a while.
Yep.
And I forget who it was in Slovakia. Let me.
And this was a movie done by Eli Roth.
Yeah. So Eli Roth was invited to Slovakia because. So it was the tourist board of Slovakia actually invited Eli Roth over to visit the country because they wanted to show him it wasn't composed of this, like, they felt like Hostel did Slovakia a disservice.
Yeah.
Explaining like their country, because I will tell you guys, in my genuine opinion, Slovakia is one of the most underrated, beautiful countries. The people there, I mean, you have a mix of like, some people are like, go away, tourists, go away, you know, American, but for the most part, everybody is extremely friendly and fantastic. But like, they really thought that Hostel presented such a negative stereotype about Slovakia, and it did. It did. And they extended an invitation to Eli Roth, and they brought him over, and they showed him that, like, our country is not just rundown factories and ghettos as you depicted. Like, one of my favorite places in the world is this mountain range that goes through a couple of different countries, but my favorite part is in Slovakia in the Tatras Mountains, and they showed him everything. They showed him Bratislava, they showed him Košice, the city I lived in, and like it was really interesting, but it kind of was like an unsettling thing because I mean, like you just said, you don't like it. They do persuade, like they do kind of like make you think like, well, I'm never going to that country. Like,
well, I mean, I never, I watched it against better judgment because
right.
one of my friends at the time, Hillis, wanted to watch it. And I told him, I said, I'm really not. I've heard about it. It's like torture porn. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's a completely kind of different, you know, but he was like,
Mm-hmm.
come on. I was like, okay, all right. If you'll shut up, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
And I knew exactly. I mean, I watched it. It was uncomfortable in some scenes.
Oh, for sure.
And, you know, I mean, the only thing that you know, you had these two Americans that were, you know, in my opinion, I was like, these guys are assholes.
Mm-hmm.
If this actually happened to somebody, I wouldn't feel that bad for them. I mean, they, you
right.
know, Americans going over to another country and showing their ass, that's not good. But
no, and it does happen. Trust me.
But,
I've seen it.
But nonetheless, I mean, if I was thinking that this could be, even at the time, I was like, this can't be good for Slovakia. I mean, this is setting a false pretense that, you know, if you go over there and you do, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
people would go over and stay in hostels and kind of travel or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, hike.
Oh, hostels are big in Europe.
And
And many
so,
of them are actually extremely nice. They're not what people would think of.
yeah. And again, that's just one of those films that I saw that I wouldn't like it. I watched it when we were done. He said, so what do you think? I was like, it's trash. I don't, you know, if you liked it, great. But I just thought it was just,
yeah.
and then I know that he did a second one later on, which I didn't see.
Yeah.
And, I think that one they had like, it was girls instead of guys traveling, but I just was like, that's just not good. I'm not and like
Yeah.
it's one thing when you're having like, assaults against women. That's
yes.
not like in the 70s and 80s. That was just kind of like part of the trope, which I don't agree with. But again, it was a different time, and they thought, you know, this is right, this is okay.
Right.
But yeah, I don't. Those are things like I don't want to see. I mean,
right.
You know. There's one more movie that I'm going to mention, and it's to me, it was like the epitome of like, I'm not watching that. And that's the Human Centipede, because Hillis brought that up one time, and I was like, no, absolutely not. I'm not watching that, because that's in a whole nother. One of my friends has it's like these really, just really hard horror films that are just, you know, really brutal, and I'm not for that. You know, if you want to give me like a funny slasher or something campy or something scary, you know, spiritual horror or whatever, space horror, you got me. I'll watch it. But some of these like really extreme horror movies, no, I can't do that. And you know, that's where I stand on those films. You know, if you're a fan of those films, you know, everybody has their own taste. That's fine.
Yeah.
But not for me. Too old
I'm
for
with
that
you.
crap.
I'm with you. I'll give you two that are no-nos for me before I give you my final movie. And that is, I'm gonna get a lot of shit for this. I know I am. But because I know I've sent you TikToks of this character or people dressed as this character doing really funny things.
Mm-hmm.
That is the Terrifier films.
Oh, yeah.
Art, listen, Art,
Art the
yeah,
Clown.
Art the Clown. Well, listen,
Yeah.
the stuff people do on TikTok dressed as Art the Clown is hysterical. Like the dances and the like kind of jump scare stuff. Too funny. I love that. But in my opinion, these movies are just blood and guts for the sake of blood and guts and gore. Like,
yeah.
It's just consistently bloody. And like I said earlier, I'm not opposed to that. It's just like, what's the plot? What is the story? I know a lot of people really love these movies, to include one of my really good friends, but I am just not here for it.
I can see, like, I can't see the appeal of like Hostel or the Human Centipede at all.
Yeah, no, not at all.
This Terrifier and Art the Clown, I kind of see it because
he's funny. He's funny. It's like
he's funny,
like that Jigsaw, right? Like
right.
Yeah.
I get that and understand it. It's, again, I'm with you. It's not that it makes me, I'm scared of it.
No, I'm not.
You know, it's just like, oh, I've seen 100 heads get cut off and
I'm not even grossed out by it. I'm just like,
it's just like, what else have you got? I mean, if this is all you got, then I'm already checked out, you know, because I want story. I kind of want some progression, you know, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I agree that's one that I wouldn't.
Yeah. And actually, funny story about Human Centipede. We were like with my mom going through movies the other night, trying to decide one to watch. And Kaden goes, Human Centipede. And I was like, I don't care if you're 100, you are not allowed to watch that. For those of you that don't know, my son is 19. He can clearly decide what he wants to watch on his own. So I was like, I don't care how old you are never allowed to watch that. And my mom goes, what is that? And I was like, no. And she's like, no. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely not for her. She doesn't do anything horror at all. Yeah. And so I was like, no for you. And you are never allowed. I don't care how old you are never, ever allowed. And then I gave them a brief explanation. Caden kind of already knew because I guess some friends. But I kind of gave my mom a really quick, like, this is what this is. And she was like, what? And I was like, I will not be explaining further. And I will not be watching it to explain it further.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I've seen some clips. Like, that was all I saw what I needed to see.
I didn't see it, but I was curious. And so I just read a synopsis of it. And that was enough for me to go, well, that's gross. And,
I came across like HBO playing it one night or something and didn't intend to see, but I saw what I needed to see, and I will not be seeing it any further. That will be forever burned in my brain. One of the other movies that's just not for me is House of a Thousand Corpses. Listen, I genuinely saw this one in the theater. I remember when this one came out. And I know a lot of people really love it, but like my sister-in-law and I were talking about this the other night, and she said she feels like you either love Rob Zombie movies or you hate them. And
I don't.
Yeah.
Especially the remakes of Halloween. I
get what he was trying to do. It wasn't for me. But House of a Thousand Corpses, I went and saw it in the theater, and I remember like most of it didn't bother me. But what bothers me is there's some like attack on women things that I just can't get past. Because like I said earlier when we first started our recording, like, that is already a horrifying thing that many women worry about consistently. I don't need it in my movies for me to also be terrified by as well. Like I don't need that. Like there's so many things that you can do in a horror film and you can do well that you don't have to do that, in my opinion. And like, that's not a knock against Rob Zombie, because I think he is very creative, and he has obviously, I mean, the amount of money that these films have brought in, like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
It's not for, like, I saw it at the theater. I paid the money. He made the money off of me, but I watched it that one time and I swore I would never watch it again. And I have not.
Yeah. I watched it on, it was on one of the streaming services, and I watched it. I didn't like dislike it, but I really, it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
To me, it's like one and done. It was like, all right, I've watched it, It had some interesting things, but again, I was like,
Yeah, some of it I'm okay with. Like,
some stuff like, yeah, whenever women are brutalized in some way, that to me is like, again, it makes me so uncomfortable. I just don't.
yeah.
And there's so many in the 70s that I remember. This was, I think, Wes Craven, The Last House on the Left.
Yeah, that one, the whole premise of the movie is the fact that the person gets assaulted.
And I didn't know that when
Yeah.
this was years ago. Again, this is back when I lived at my old house, and a friend of mine had the DVD of it, and I'd never seen it. And I said, "Well, let me borrow it. I knew I want to watch something tonight." So I got probably up to that moment,
Mm-hmm.
and when I knew, I was like, and I turned it off. I was like, I can't. That's no, it's just too much, you know. And I gave it back to him. He goes, "What do you think?" I was like, I couldn't get past, you know, the brutalization. And he's like, yeah, for its time, because this came out in the 70s, so a lot of folks were like walking out of the theater, actually getting sick. You know, it that kind of stuff to me is it kind of goes in the same vein of like Hostel, where you've got somebody and you're torturing them.
Yeah,
that's always going to give me an uneasy, because it's like, it's one thing to be chased.
It gives me the ick.
Yeah, it's one thing when you're being chased by a chainsaw guy with, you know,
a
leather face, and this person is having at least a chance to get away. But when, you know, you have somebody bolted or tied down to a chair and you're just, I can't.
I don't even mind all like this. I'm not like a huge fan of the Saw movies, but like I don't even mind, because Jigsaw at least
the thing is
he correct? No, but like he at least tells you like, I got a plan and this is why I'm doing what I do. And like,
I didn't like those films until I went back and I rewatched all of them. I marathoned them over a couple of days, because I watched somebody's review of them, and they had the way they described it. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go back and give them a watch. And again, these are some really just horrific torture stuff. But I mean, if you look at the way the films are set up and the way the Jigsaw character is portrayed, and the way it's
like
kind
of reasoning and an explanation.
And
he has a purpose behind what he does.
It's
even
not
if
a film,
it is a little cuckoo, you know.
I agree. It's one of those films that when I went back and rewatched them again years later, and even watched it, I watched them about the same time that the last one came out, that, you know, I got to see it and kind of finish out the trilogy, I guess. I wasn't really like, the whole novelty is the traps, but underlying that is kind of this compelling story about somebody and what they're dealing with, and this is a fucked up way to deal with it, but was he right? Was he wrong? I mean, that's really up to the viewer's decision. You know, what do you think is
right?
Was he justified in? But that would be one set of films that I would say my initial thought of them was just, you know, puzzle garbage, people getting chopped up or whatever. But going back and rewatching them again and kind of looking for the story, and it makes a lot of difference.
So my final and fifth movie of the night, which I also wanted to say this when you were talking about John Carpenter earlier. John Carpenter and I are actually alumni of the same college. Yes.
Nice.
His father was a teacher. He moved to a city just like 20 minutes north of where I'm from. His family moved to Bowling Green, Kentucky, where his father is actually a professor. I think it was the music department at Western Kentucky University. I can't remember. Yeah, I think his dad was a professor at the music department. And so John Carpenter attended Western Kentucky University. which is my college. And then, of course, later he transferred to USC Film School in Los Angeles. But yeah, so John Carpenter lived like 20 miles north of where I'm from.
Nice.
Yeah. My final film kind of messes. It's a slow burn. It's a slow burn ghost story. That kind of, in my opinion, proves horror doesn't have to have jump scares to like unsettle you. And that is The Others from 2001 with Nicole Kidman.
You know, when you were talking about that prior to you telling me the name of the film, I had guessed it in my head that was.
Yeah. It's just done. I mean, we get, Eccleston, Christopher Eccleston, who you don't get to see in a whole lot of stuff. Nicole Kidman, who I think is a really great actress, actually. It's just the whole movie. When you get to the end, it's kind of like, excuse me, you're still trying to decide. It's like it's left for the audience to decide like what they think really happened or is happening. It weaves this tension through this mixture of like isolation and shadows and silence. And Nicole Kidman has this way of just delivering a very chilling, very kind of fragile performance, if you will. And that twist ending, in my opinion, it's one of this genre's, which is like ghost story horror. It is one of the best. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy films like The Conjuring and stuff like that, which are like ghost films. But this does something different. This is almost ghost thriller.
Yeah.
Where it, like I said, it leaves the audience to decide, is that what happened? Is that what, like, you have to really make up your mind for yourself. And to me, it's just really fascinating how it's done. Like the coloring of parts of the film is off, but it's done strategically. Overall, I really, really love this film. And it's a strange one. Another one that kind of fits that same vein that I'll give like an honorable mention to that I always really liked is The Skeleton Key.
Yeah.
Which is another one where at the end you're like, wait a second, is that like you're left trying to decide for yourself. I really like films like that. I think it's proof of the things that I've picked today is I really enjoy like a good gothic atmospheric, like, as you said before, you like to kind of think and piece together as you go. You don't like it all like explained out for you. And that's kind of how I feel here. Psychological horror, psychological thrillers. Those are really where my brain or goes to. But I love a good vampire story. I love a good like retelling, for example, like, with the Dracula and then Sleepy Hollow, anything like that can kind of like bring back nostalgia as well. Kind of just kind of expands things, it makes my brain just really kind of get enjoyment, rather kind of like we've talked about all the things that we don't like and then we've talked about the 5 that we do. And I know I throw a wrench in things by giving you guys a Scream, which is a slasher, but it's different. I don't know how to,
Yeah, I get that. I always enjoy kind of like where you have an ensemble kind of group that's somewhere, if they're trapped somewhere or they're, you have something external going on, which is like a lot of films. A lot of films do that. And you've got really interesting characters. I find that to be one of my favorites. Like one of my honorable mentions that kind of will fit into my cosmic horror and in space is Event Horizon. it's kind of one of those films that I wanted to put on my list, but I was like, I've already got a couple of cosmic type movies on there, and this would kind of be an almost kind of a Hellraiser kind of setting as well. But yeah, that film I enjoyed mainly because it was in space, and you had that kind of, a lot of times you have like an alien or some sort of alien creature that when you're dealing with space. But this was like completely, this was like Hellraiser in space, and it totally took me and everybody else by surprise when you kind of figured out what was going on. And those films, there's some gore in it, but it's not like, it's kind of, it fits. It's not like you're just having something cut off or blown up,
right?
Just to have it done. It all fits.
I'm okay with gore. It's just like, doesn't make sense, or you just throwing a whole bunch in there because you want a shock and value. I don't like that.
It all, if it fits in with the story and it makes sense, then I'm fine with it. But yeah, that was those are some. That's a good list. I have. We didn't have anything that crossed over, but
because we sometimes do. We sometimes do like that.
Well, like I said, it took a little time to make the list because I had to change it a few times because I was like, I don't want to have like everything to be kind of in this one niche. I wanted a little bit of, I guess, variety to some degree.
Mine kind of stayed inside like one grouping, but I feel like it's also diverse in some ways.
Yeah. I mine was like having nothing but Carpenter films because I had to have at least two, and then technically Halloween 3 Seasons of the Witch would be the third, but Carpenter didn't. I don't know if he had complete. If he was, I think one of his assistants or one of his co-writers was involved in doing that. I don't know. I mean, it's still in the Carpenter verse. So
it is a Carpenter verse,
but I had to, at least have those three. So I had to really buckle down on the other two to have them be a little bit different. But
honestly, if I sat here like how you would pick all John Carpenter's, I would probably pick like everything Tim Burton.
Yeah. It's difficult to make lists like this when you're narrowing it down to like 5.
Yeah.
If we had it like a little like 10 or 15, then you could sprinkle in some more Carpenter films and but I think we both gave up some good choices for people to watch, or if they've never seen it before, that it's worth giving a look.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree. It's kind of like the end of our list. So do you have anything that you would like to share with anybody? Anywhere that you can be found on social media that you're okay with? Stuff like that. Just,
like I know Instagram is like where I post. That's where I've been posting all of my movie marathon movies I'm watching each night. And that's at Tinzel. Let me double check because I don't.
I think it's.
Have to do. It's. Come on, you doofus!
I was trying to think.
Yeah, it's Tinzel. Yeah, Tinzel 2814.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, Tinzel 2814. Yeah, that's just where I post my nonsense, and mainly it's just comic book related stuff.
Yeah.
When I want to share stuff, but I don't have really. I think I have. Did I break that? Yeah, I have Threads. I think that's kind of the same vein. If you find me there, you'll find me on Threads.
It's like Instagram's version of Twitter, X, whatever the heck we're calling it now. I actually really kind of like it over there because like there's not as many people doing it yet, so it seems really curated to like what you're interested in.
Yeah.
I'm also over there.
Yeah, that would be two places that you could find me at. And as far as that, I mean, I don't really have anything else.
That's okay. I would just like to invite everyone to check out placetobenation.com, as well as the Place to Be Facebook group, where I'm actually posting all of the 31 Nights of Halloween content. And even though it's the end here, you can go over and catch up and see what all 31 nights are. I'm also posting it on my socials. I've been posting it on Threads and as well on TikTok on my stories under my personal TikTok and my Bells with Books, which is another pod that I have here on the feed. So you can kind of like follow along. I will also be doing the same thing for December. We'll be having 25 days of Christmas. So if you would like to add a Christmas movie to the list, send me over your recommendations for that. But as far as this month's episode of Lady in the Beard, that's our list. That is, I think, a really good round out that proves that horror films rather, can be beautiful, haunting, and just the right amount of dramatic without taking it too far. And we've even told you the ones that we think, in our personal opinion, take it too far. I think we both had fantastic lists, so.
I agree.
But that's all that there is for us today. Normally we could try to tell you what we're going to be doing next. We are undecided, and that's okay. I think we've kind of talked about what we want to do next, but we don't have like a firm. But we will be back next month. Maybe some more. We've talked about movies today that bring comfort. We've done comfort movies before, but maybe we'll stay in the realm of comfort since it's still going to be fall outside. And then who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll come back with our own Christmas list come December, because there's some good Christmas movies out there.
Yeah. That's true.
That's true. There's even some horror Christmas movies out there.
Yeah, Black Christmas comes to mind.
Krampus is my favorite.
Well, there's the 1973 or 74 Black Christmas movie that kind of like one of the first, and kind of, I think it predates Halloween.
I think so.
And I've watched it a few times, and they remade it. I think they remade it twice, but the second remake was done. It had a lot of the kind of young actresses that were real popular around the same time. I can't remember when, but that's a good one.
Yeah.
I can't really think of anything else, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, so either way, we will decide something. It may be horror-filled, it may not be, but we really appreciate you being here today. Drop us a line on either one of our socials. Tell us what your favorite horror movie is, your favorite comfort, if it's a comfort horror that you watch year-round. And we look forward to seeing you next month. But until then,
yes,
have a good night, and don't be too scared.
Bye.
Bye.